everybody. Welcome to the neighborhood. I'm Mary Therese. Glad to have you along for this Tuesday, May 5th edition of Neighborhood News. If you're new to the neighborhood, welcome. We are giving you uplifting news from all over the world, neighborhoods all over the world. And if you've been with us for the last 6 weeks, so glad that you're part of the neighborhood. Guys, I'm going to get right to our interview today because coming to us live from North Carolina, I've been talking about them since last week. One of the most uplifting interviews I've ever done as a reporter in my 27 years. We have Alicia and Matt Lammers in North Carolina. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Very happy to have you with us in the neighborhood. Well, thanks for being here. And one of the things that I've been telling our viewing audience about you, Alicia, is that you have found your passion through knitting, but your passion started way before this COVID-19 because, you know, we're all experiencing a sudden change in our lives as we know it. And as I'm explaining this inspirational story to our viewers, you all have embraced instantaneous life changing on a dime better than anybody I've ever met in my life. I'll very quickly tell folks that we've known each other a couple years. We met through the Army when I was a writer for the Army's Warrior Care and Transition, which is now the Army Recovery Care Program. But you are just a superb athlete, Matt, and I've met you with Warrior Games and Invictus. And you and Alicia have a very special bond. You wouldn't be able to accomplish what you do as a triple amputee without her help. Is that correct?
That is very correct. Yes, ma'am. He's awesome.
When I watch you compete at Army trials or at Warrior Games, I am in awe. I've never seen anybody swim like you do, but you've not always been a swimmer.
No, that is correct. That is correct. I taught myself with her help in 2014.
Right.
2014.
How many times have you? How many medals have you won in swimming?
Oh.
Good question.
It's a lot.
Medals that are coming. Yes, man. Those are icing on the cake. I just enjoy swimming.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I don't know, it's a lot. I should also tell folks that as we're going to get into this even deeper inspirational story that does have to do with knitting, by the way. It's a program called Lammers Loops and Hoops that I want you to be aware of. Alicia, you're always at the games and always at practice knitting. And when you and I first got to talking, you were telling me that when Matt had his accident on his last tour of Iraq, you actually met and married Matt while he was a triple amputee.
Right, yes. We met at Back Up and Beyond. This is back in 2009, towards the end of 2009.
Mm-hmm.
He was a regular customer and I was a policy manager. So we ended up being very good friends for a while. We decided to start dating and rest is history.
Rest is history. Part of that history, though, this is very unique. You were telling me that Matt didn't shop during normal hours.
Right. He didn't like going out in public back then. So he used to go very late at night.
Matt, when you went, was it because you knew you were going to get to see Alicia and do your shopping but get to see her?
Yes, that was a lot of it. That was a bonus.
You bought a lot of Yankee candles back then.
You should have stock in the Yankee Candle Company, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
When you're a caregiver, and this is such the crux of this interview and this conversation, folks. So many of you out there are caregivers, and it becomes your lifestyle. And Alicia, you knew what you were signing up for. You had become this full-time caregiver with Matt. I see you guys as such a great team. You are Team Lammers, by the way. We've talked about your medals or his medals, right? What's it like when you go, for example, to train at the pool?
Well, I bring my knitting with me. Whatever project I have going on, I always bring it with me. Because in between laps and counting laps and his time and helping him out, it's my time too. and I can do, I can exercise. That's our way of exercising as well, and it's therapy.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about a day in the life of a caregiver, Alicia, it's you have a household to run because they do have kids. By the way, they have a family, but your job is, you know, household manager, taking care of the kids, taking care of Matt, also helping to coach, and trying to find time to fit in things to keep your own identity. But let's talk for a second about what a day in the life is like with you keeping up with Matt, because he doesn't slow down.
You're right. It's a lot of planning. Day starts by like simple things like opening water bottles for him. It's hard to open, you know, just break the seal of those bottles of water.
Mm-hmm.
So little things like that, and I'm all constantly moving, constantly doing something.
Mm-hmm. When you started knitting, I know that this is something that you started as a youngster, but maybe weren't too good at it. You're now into it full time. How are you doing all of this with what you do? Because besides the regular day-to-day life with Matt still trains because he's an athlete and he's competed, you know, on Team Army and at Invictus. So how do you fit all of this in? And why is that important? Why is that important, by the way, to be able to continue to knit or fit something into your lifestyle?
Right. When I started knitting, I was actually knitting with 2 needles, and I was 19, and I only knew how to knit and purl, super basic. I did little projects on and off for many years, but when we got married, I had to stop being the department manager and working 50 plus hours and running around to stay home. And even though you're cleaning, you're doing, you get to the point that there's not much to clean. You know, back then he wasn't training, so I picked up knitting, and I started to do small projects again, a scarf here and there, just to do something. But when he started training back in Arizona, I met a lady who approached me, and she liked what I was doing, and we had a conversation. She was active duty, but she was a spouse of a veteran as well. So she was a caregiver. And she asked me a very important question. She asked me, what did you do for you, for Alicia? What are you doing to keep yourself sane? And I didn't know how to answer that question because I wasn't doing anything with that mentality. I was busy. I was constantly doing something, but I never thought, oh, I'm doing this because I enjoy it or because it will give me peace of mind, or this will be my therapy.
So it's
I had that conversation with her.
It's important, though, as I'm pulling from this, to keep your own identity. It's so important what you're doing with Matt and with your family, but you have to have your own identity as well.
Right, and you need to have time for yourself. And back then, I feel guilty about having time for me, because we were always together. So I thought I had to follow him wherever he was going. So if he was going out to smoke, I would follow him and just to have a conversation. So we were always together, and I feel guilty about having that time apart to do something else.
So you guys have that now. You have yours, mine, and our time.
Yes.
Yeah?
Right. We had that for a while now.
While you've been doing the training and your family moves, and as your family's growing, you've all, it's not all been peaches and cream. I know that. And one of the other things that I know you and Matt really want to talk about, and have actually talked and given speeches to large audiences before, is about mental health, because it's so important that people understand, whether you're a caregiver, whether you are somebody who has a condition, an illness, a wound, an injury, an illness that you have to recover and overcome. Focusing on mental illness always had some type of, maybe a bad connotation, but not so much anymore. And it's important that you approach it properly, right, Matt?
Yes, most definitely. In my opinion, I definitely agree with that. A couple years ago, I would have been the last person to seek any type of help for mental health, but through the years, I've trial and error and being a bad husband, a lot of stuff. I want to do better for my family. So for myself, it really has been beneficial.
I'm not trying to make light of it, Matt, and I know you guys and I love you guys, but you say that with such ease. I don't want to be a bad husband, and you mean that because you know what kind of progress you've made, and Alicia, you being his cheerleader along the way, you've really seen the improvement just from having the right diagnosis, correct?
Right. And as Matt said, it's hard for veterans or anyone for that matter to seek mental health. It's hard to admit that something is not going well. And it's a lot of responsibility because you have to seek not just medication, the right diagnosis, medication, and then treatment for it, the therapy part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt's doing very well. And every day he's doing better and better. He's a better husband, a better father, a better son, a better friend, and he amazes me.
Matt, I don't want to leave out the fact that you were part of the 10th Mountain Division on your first tour in Iraq, and then you were part of the first ID out of Fort Riley, Kansas. And you certainly have developed such a bond with your members of Team Army. What do you miss most about Team Army and Invictus? I know it's kind of a bum situation that everything's been so moved, but I watched you prosper every time you competed.
I personally just miss all the other athletes and all our friends. That's what I miss the most, hanging out with y'all.
Good times.
Yeah. Yes.
I miss him too.
Good times. Hey, I know what I know what I miss, and I want to show. Alicia, you made this beautiful shawl for me, and I'm all things red, white, and blue. But you put so much heart into everything that you're doing, and you just told me before we came on the air live that you're working on 7 projects right now.
Right. So, well. A lot of people tells me, when I'm knitting or crocheting, whatever I'm doing, a lot of people approach me and say, you must be so patient.
Mm-hmm.
And my answer to that is, no, I do this because I am not patient. I gotta keep, moving. I gotta keep doing different stuff. And with all this coronavirus and this quarantine, staying at home, and the hornets, right. My brain is like constantly working, and now I have all this yarn here, and I'm just like picking up colors and textures and just creating new things.
Yeah, let's talk about that yarn there. Matt, does your wife have enough yarn there?
No. If I ask her, she'll say no.
Never enough yarn?
Never enough yarn.
Oh my. Is this something in closing that anybody watching, as they're thinking to themselves, I've got to find something to find my own identity, for my own sanity. I've never knitted before. Can anybody do this?
Yes, anyone can do it. Just when I decided to go back to knitting, I was walking through a thrift store and I got a pair of needles and they were 25 cents. Mm-hmm. Then I went to Walmart and got a red hard ball of yarn. It's less than $3. And I don't even remember what I did first. But after that, I decided to start challenging myself, and I just start playing YouTube tutorials. And then
you learned by watching YouTube?
Right.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
And then I decided,
Well, I was going to say, I know now that you have Lammers Loops and Hoops. Where can people find Lammers Loops and Hoops?
You go to Etsy and then just click Lammers Loops and Hoops, and it should be right there. It's part of the Etsy shops.
I'm so proud of you for everything that you're doing with this, because I've seen you come such a long way, not only with your knitting, but just being happy in life. And I really appreciate the both of you sharing your story with everyone, because somebody out there watching is identifying maybe not exactly the same way, but on the same path. And I just think that your words of positive and working forward are really going to resonate with some folks. What do you guys have on tap next when everything gets back to normal? What's big and what do you want to do?
Definitely want to take her to Red Robin again. That's our date spot. We go to Fayetteville up in Fort Bragg at least once, twice a month.
So this is like a date night?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
You have to catch up on the dates there, mister.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Well, you guys be safe, be good, and we'll check back in with you. We're going to keep doing neighborhood news as long as we need to. But really love and miss y'all. Thank you for doing this.
Love you too. Miss you. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Alicia and Matt Lammers from North Carolina, folks. I tell you, what an inspirational story, because they truly know what it means to have life change on a dime, and have approached it with such grace. And again, if you're wondering, Alicia Lammers Loops and Hoops is how you would find her on Etsy. And oh boy, does she have some beautiful, beautiful stuff to share. Folks, we do have some neighborhood news that we want to get to today, and we appreciate everyone sending in news from all over the world. If you want to send us news, it's very easy to do. neighborhoodnews2020@gmail.com. So we're going to go back to a familiar face. If you remember last week, we were in Tampa and we had a story about little Elijah. Well, Elijah has learned to go camping. Check out what Daddy Joel did here. And Leonie, Mama was telling me that Elijah kept saying he wanted to go camping and it wasn't conducive to do that. So they bought a little screen and set it up, and he is a happy camper, they have decided that the neighbors are enjoying the belly laughs that come from the house as much as she is. She said that parenting isn't always easy or fun, but these moments of happiness make it so good, and she just wants everybody to embrace all those fun, happy moments that you're finding as we're all in this unusual lifestyle that we're living in. Thank you so much, Elijah. You look very happy with that movie there. We're going to stay in Florida. We're going to go over to Flagler County, which you know is the home of the Daytona International Speedway, and the most important victorious finish ever is going to happen at the Daytona International Speedway. That is because the high schools in Flagler County are going to have the opportunity of a lifetime, and they're going to have a chance to cross the finish line in their families' cars and receive their diplomas as they do. So families will be in the car, they'll have their cap, they'll have their gown. This was all thanks to the France family and the Daytona International Speedway and NASCAR. The World Center of Racing will play host to both Flagler County high schools. It's going to happen at the end of May, and complete with a checkered flag across the finish line. So it doesn't get much better than that. Way to go, France family, NASCAR, and Daytona International Speedway. That is something. Oh boy, that was really quick. That's what happens when you flick the finger super fast, NT. I told y'all before, this is a homemade show. For real. So, have you seen this? I was really floored at this website. There have been many websites out there, but this is Basket of Fruit, an imitation of course, but thousands of people responded to the Getty Museum, who put out a fun challenge. Hey, take a look at some of this priceless art that we have and duplicate, since you're in quarantine, your version of it. So this is a duplication from Francisco de Grazia, recreating Caravaggio's Boy with a Basket of Fruit. But check out what he's holding. He's got a basket of toilet paper. Very appropriate, don't you think, for all of the time at home that we have. You know, we are actually on, right here in the state of Georgia, day 51 of the quarantine. So I know around the country it's about 50 or so days that everybody's been in some sort of unique living situation, right? So this is a website that I was introduced to that was created long before COVID-19 happened. It actually was created as an bullying movement. And if you want to take a look, it's called kidsforpeaceglobal.org. I know most of the kids are winding down their school year, and you don't want them to lose that yearning for learning, so to speak. And yep, my kitty just jumped in my lap. That's okay, because you're fine, Liberty. You can be part of the show. Here, I'm gonna say hi to everybody. There she is. She says, no, I want to stand on your shoulder. That's fine too. We'll just keep rolling. I wish this could have happened when I was on the regular news desk, but it's my studio, right? Anyway, kidsforpeaceglobal.org has a terrific array of things that you can do with your kids to keep that learning going all throughout the summer. For example, simple little things to keep your kids engaged, like, every day they're going to pledge to use their words to speak in a kind way today. Getting kids to remember that kindness always wins, which, by the way, the motto of this show is spread kindness, not a virus, right? Very easy to spread kindness, but sometimes we have to remind people about that. So at this website, things like that they're, making sure that they can connect with other kids through pen pals. Remember growing up, those of us that are close to my age, we used to have pen pals and actually write letters. I dare say, do our kids today know how to address an envelope? I don't know. I know a couple that probably would not have passed that class, but these are things that are very valuable life lessons, but it's also helping them to reconnect. So go to this website, check it out. It's called kidsforpeaceglobal.org, and you will be amazed at what they are doing to help your kids and grandkids keep that yearning for learning going on. So yesterday was the 4th of May. May the 4th be with you. These are my very creative neighbors across the street, Ali and Samantha, who recreated a Star Wars scene. So as you came into the neighborhood, they had performances all day yesterday, and they did a jam-up job. I have some video, by the way, of recreations of commercials and plays that these young ladies have done that I'm going to be sharing on Neighborhood News. Their mom Jen is a physics teacher at one of the high schools not far from here, and she allows the creativity to just blossom. And I think it's really blossoming now that they're in quarantine, because let's face it, we don't have anywhere to go, right? Trying to keep our social distance. And they're doing that very well on the front lawn, by the way, with their lightsabers. So way to go, girls. That was very awesome. May the 4th be with you. Remember, spread kindness, not a virus. It's very important that we remember that we still have some rules that we have to follow. But on this show, it's just to be kind. Send us positive news and be kind. That's all we like. All the way up in Minnesota, this is Heather Lane. And she started a thank you message on her retaining wall in front of her house. And it started out as just thank you. And she had the cross for emergency workers. But then her son got involved with her, and this is chalk work. And she added more and more of the frontline workers to say thank you. Well, she's done so well that she has now created these yard signs, right? And it goes even further. You've got the truck drivers, the fire department, the grocery store workers, police department, school teachers. We all know there's a host of people that are getting us through this COVID-19 crisis that we're in. So she has these yard signs, and they're selling these, but it's not that it's a business to her, right? For a profit. She's actually donating money, and she has created the online thank you store. It is called thethankyoustore.com, and it's THETHANKU, not YU, just you, store.com. And she says that some of the proceeds are going to go to charities benefiting food insecurity. She said when they first did this, that was the mission, and they sold out after 2 days. So they made this website, and now what they're doing is they're donating $10 for every one of these that is sold. So these are yard signs, and they have other things, but just check it out because you might want some in your neighborhood. And by the way, these are going to all 50 states. So it might be kind of cool to see if we can start getting these throughout the neighborhoods, because one sign kind of says it all. So way to go, Heather. Very good job getting this done. All right, so you might be wondering why I am sporting a Miami Dolphins jersey today. You may or may not have seen that Don Shula passed away. He is the legendary coach of the Miami Dolphins. And he's been known for a lot of things, but one is this great quote: "The superior man blames himself, the inferior man blames others." He had quite a way of coaching and quite a way of teaching the team how to, embrace the dedication, embrace the hard work. A lot of folks may not know this about the Miami Dolphins. They are the only NFL team to have a perfect season, 18 games. Is that right, babe? 18? Did I learn it well? My husband is laughing because he is the original Miami Dolphins fan. So if my husband is a Miami Dolphins fan, I am a Miami Dolphins fan. Are you with me? He's so obligated to the team, and I'm so obligated, obviously, to this marriage because, come on, right? Anybody that knows me knows that I could give two shakes about football. And I know I'm probably going to hell for saying that because I live in the South and it's a religion, and, well, we all know what happens on Sunday and Saturday, right? I mean, I'm a fan. I'm not a fanatic. And I think there's a difference. I'm a fan. I love, go Dogs, right? Yay, Jake Fromm from my hometown. Go Dirty Birds. Love the Braves. But when Bob was a little boy stationed at an Air Force base in England, he had never seen American football. And then one day on the BBC, the Dallas Cowboys were playing this team, the Miami Dolphins. And he said, "That's going to be my team." And by cracky, it's been. So you want to talk about dedication and obligation. To give you an example, when we lived in DC, I took Bob a couple of times to see the Dolphins. MT doesn't play. When I get tickets to a game, we're behind the Dolphins, 50-yard line, 10 rows from the field. No lie. And at one of these games, when I was talking to a couple of the other, athletic supporter wives, that's kind of what we are. Pun totally intended there, by the way. We're having a couple of beers because that's what you do at a football game. And right there on the field is Tannehill, the quarterback, right? So I yell, "Tannehill!" And he turned around. And my husband is standing right there with his jaw dropped. And I said, "Tell him right now, tell him what you said on Sunday so he knows what I heard." And Tannehill just laughed and threw his hands in the air. My point to all of this is, right, mean what you say and say what you mean. Yeah. And I kind of felt like, come on, Dolphins, get it together, because our Mondays they're not the most fun, right? I mean, it's not that 18-win year, but it's coming. I know it's coming again. I do have a point to all of this. If Don Shula can create that dynasty that he did, and he can instill that kind of hard work in players like that, and make an impression on a 5-year-old little boy who so many decades later is embracing these Dolphins that he's grown to love over the years, I say way to go. Job well done. So rest in peace, Don Shula. And for the last time, Coach, fins up. All right. Did you get to check this out this weekend? Check it out, folks. These are our Air Force Thunderbirds and our Navy Blue Angels flying over Atlanta. I'm not sure what's going on with the sound there, but they did flyovers of the DC, Baltimore area, and then they jetted on down here to Atlanta. My thanks to Roger for that video from Atlanta. Really appreciate you, sir, sending that in. And also this great photo from our First Lady of the state of Georgia, Mrs. Marty Kemp, Governor Kemp's wife. Look at this, our gold dome, and you've got the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels flying on by. They were up in the DC area, they were in New York previously, and they're going to hit other cities. And the whole purpose behind this, the president said this is the hashtag America Strong Tour to say thanks to all of our frontline workers. So way to go, and thanks to our Air Force Thunderbirds and our Blue Angels for visiting cities that normally don't get to see you. You have to go to a military installation 9 times out of 10 to see these guys and gals perform. So to be able to do this over the big cities like this, I think you're gaining a whole bunch of fans who have just been in awe of what they've seen over the last 2 days over the weekend. So if you missed it, all you got to do is Google Thunderbirds, Blue Angels over DC or over Atlanta this past weekend. You will see tons of video, tons of photos. It was fantastic. Gang, we're at the point where we're going to answer the neighborhood challenge from last week. And this was really interesting to see because so many of you were posting. I got a few instant messages on the side, but we had a humongous response to a neighborhood challenge. It was from Jason in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And he wanted to know what was everybody's guilty pleasure during the last 6 weeks of being in quarantine. What are you watching, whether it's a series, whether it's movies? So we took a little compilation here. I don't know how well you can see that. The most watched series that I received, and this is not scientific, this is just from folks who responded, is Ozark. And I know the first thing about Ozark, I know it's filmed here. I'm in the great state of Georgia. I'm just outside of Atlanta. We're kind of in the middle of Handmaid's Tale because we're always late to the party. We started watching Game of Thrones in this house when there was like 2 episodes left. So my husband said, hey, let's binge watch 8 years. So we did. We waited. We told everybody, don't tell us anything about the ending. But so we're kind of in the middle of that. And Handmaid's Tale did make the list, number 6. Number 2 was Tiger King. Did you watch that? We watched that in 2 days. It's only 7 episodes, 8 if you include the follow-on at the end. That was off the chain. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. HGTV, Marvel movies. I know Hugh in Connecticut has been watching those. I know Audrey's been watching Denzel Washington movies, Audrey from Warner Robins. Many of you watched the Atlanta Braves 1995 World Series, and what you love about it is that every time you watch it, they win. So, how about that? Friends, very popular. Somebody in Birmingham, Alabama, and also somebody in Nashville. I don't know if they know each other, but they were naming some of the same westerns, the spaghetti westerns that they've been pulling out and showing to their kids. And having to explain that Clint Eastwood wasn't always a producer. He used to be an actor. So I think that's kind of funny. And then, of course, the cult classics. We had a lot of folks talk about Grease, Pulp Fiction, Back to the Future, and Top Gun. By the way, when we have Jackie K. Cooper on again, I must have had 6 emails asking me to ask him, what is the deal with Top Gun? Because, Tom Cruise was making the follow-up, if you will, Top Gun movie that was supposed to be released this summer. That's probably not going to happen. Everybody's wanting to know what's going to happen with Maverick and the whole Top Gun saga. So we're going to make sure that that's at the top of our list when we have Jackie K. Cooper back. Time for a little public service announcement for you folks. And this one comes to you from the World Health Organization. Even though so many states, I'm pretty sure most states now are doing some form of reopening, re-entry into somewhat of a normal world, trying to get the economy going again, but giving people a little more access to being able to go and do. So the one thing that the World Health Organization wants you to remember is it doesn't mean you go back to just being lazy-daisy, right? You still have to wash your hands. You still have to avoid contact with people who are sick. Don't put your hands on your face. Make sure that you cover your mouth when you cough. Stay home if you're sick. That's a novel idea. Clean and disinfect things that you constantly touch. These are things I think that we grew up hearing that maybe our moms told us we should be doing anyway. And those were a suggestion. But folks, this is no longer a suggestion. This is a necessity. So the World Health Organization wants you to know those things that you thought were just being suggested by mom are things you absolutely have to do now, because COVID-19 is not gone. We don't have a vaccine yet, but we do need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and taking care of others. Hey, I would be remiss if I did not say Happy Cinco de Mayo, right? Today is May 5th. I did think this was pretty funny. Cinco de Mayo lands today, which is Taco Tuesday, but isn't it ironic that we can't celebrate it because of a virus named after a Mexican beer? Truth. If you see news in your neighborhood, send it to me, neighborhoodnews2020@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. Love to get viewer mail. Love to share whatever is happening in your neighborhood around the world. Time for a little bit of prayer and praise, folks, on this Cinco de Mayo. We do have a prayer request from White Plains, New York. We want to pray for the protection of David and Karen. David and Karen both work in the healthcare industry, and they are not able to go home to their children yet. And we're hearing that it's pretty hard, but we ask God for safety and protection for them, and for them to be able to reunite with their kids. Would you join me in prayer for that? Also join me in prayer for Mary in Milledgeville, Georgia. She asked for some guidance. She just lost 2 pups in the last 2 weeks, and she says what makes it really sad is that they were her only company, as her daughter, who lives with her, is a nurse and works in a hospital in Atlanta. So our hearts go out to you, Mary, and we're praying for you, and that your pups are just playing with all the animals with St. Francis up in heaven. Monica out in San Antonio, thank you for watching, is asking for prayer to lift up her brother Roger, who is having brain surgery tomorrow. So Lord, we ask you to please help Roger to get through this surgery with flying colors, and be with the doctors and guide their hands and make them steady. Folks, if you would all just stop for a second, I need to ask for prayer for a very dear friend in New England. And my friend Dave from Warner Robins and I know all of our friends on Operation Season's Greetings will join me seeking any and all prayer for our dear friend Tracy, who is in need of some top cover right now. She needs the most top cover, and she's been such a bright light in everybody's life. She's going through a pretty serious medical procedure this week, and I know news people aren't supposed to get weepy. I'm retired news people, so maybe I'm allowed to do that. But our hearts and prayers are going out for our dear friend Tracy, and we know that you've got this. You're going to kick some serious butt, and everything is going to be okay. Remember the little boy? I like to think of him all the time. We played him a couple of times several weeks ago. It might be time to bring him out again. The little boy up in Massachusetts who redid the song that it was 3 little birds. Don't worry about a thing, because every little thing is going to be all right. Don't you know it? Hey, we want to offer praise galore that the curve is flattening. Are you watching this on the news? For the most part, the curve is flattening. Not everywhere, but you're starting to see it in Europe. You're starting to see it in Asia. You're starting to see it in some of the states here. So everybody keep doing what you're doing. Thank you, Lord, for that. We also want to thank you, God, for all the people who are donating their time and their talent to help during these uncertain times. And I'm talking about people who are offering concerts on social media. I'm talking about folks who are volunteering at the food pantry, or maybe you're volunteering at your church, helping your neighbors. Keep doing that. I think that's what's the huge difference right now. And Lord, we praise you for the beautiful planet that we live on, and discovering so much more today, and in different ways, of course. Maybe make it a point to go discover something really cool out in nature that you haven't yet, while we have this time to ourselves. This is our time. This is our time now. So let's take it and let's use it. Let's use it wisely. Folks, I know this has been a little bit of a long show today, but I'm so glad that you've been with me, and I hope that it's uplifted your spirits. Again, send us your news at neighborhoodnews2020@gmail.com. Obviously, we take prayer requests, we take praise comments, and we love to give news from all over the world. Join us Friday, because Friday we're going to have Mythbusters. We're also going to have a new neighborhood challenge, and I'm already compiling neighborhood news for Friday. It's all good stuff. I'm going to leave you. Normally, we've been leaving you with a music parody video, but I have found a little something different for you. This is from Probably Tomfoolery, and it is making the rounds, but it is fantastic. And you give a listen to this. It's a message that you're certainly going to want to share with your kids. I know I was enamored as an adult, but it's the story of the virus that started long ago. And again, this is from Probably Tomfoolery on their Facebook site. Thank you again for joining us, and I hope that you will join us again on Friday. Well, let's see.
Snuggle down, my boy, though I know you know full well the story starts before then, in a world I once would dwell. It was a world of waste and wonder, poverty and plenty, back before we understood why hindsight's 2020. You see, the people came up with companies to trade across all lands, but they swelled and got much bigger than we ever could have planned. We'd always had our wants, but now we've got so quick. You can have anything you dreamed of in a day, and with a click. We noticed families had stopped talking. That's not to say they never spoke, but the meaning must have melted, and the work-life balance broke. And the children's eyes grew squarer, and every toddler had a phone. They filtered out the imperfections, but amidst the noise, they felt alone. And every day the skies grew thicker, till you couldn't see the stars. So we flew in planes to find them, while down below, we filled our cars. We drive around all day in circles. We'd forgotten how to run. We swapped the grass for tarmac, shrunk the parks till there were none. We filled the sea with plastic, because our waste was never capped. Until each day when you went fishing, you'd pull them out, already wrapped. And while we drank and smoked and gambled, our leaders taught us why. It's best to not upset the lobbies. More convenient to die. But then in 2020, a new virus came our way. The governments reacted and told us all to hide away. But while we all were hidden, amidst the fear, and all the while, people dusted off their instincts. They remembered how to smile. They started clapping to say thank you, and calling up their mums. And while the car keys gathered dust, they would look forward to their runs. And with the skies less full of voyagers, the earth began to breathe, and the beaches bore new wildlife that scuttled off into the seas. Some people started dancing, some were singing, some were baking. We'd grown so used to bad news, but some good news was in the making. And so when we found the cure, and were allowed to go outside, we all preferred the world we found to the one we left behind. Old habits became extinct, and they made way for the new. And every simple act of kindness was now given its due.
But why did it take a virus to bring the people back together?
Sometimes you've got to get sick, my boy, before you start feeling better. Now lie down and dream of tomorrow, and all the things that we can do. And who knows, if you dream hard enough, maybe some of them will come true. We now call it the Great Realization. And yes, since then there have been many. But that's the story of how it started, and why hindsight's 2020.